Hey everyone, welcome to Wax Pack Wisdom. I'm Jake T. O'Donnell. Today I'm doing another SGC grades reveal. This is a 12 card submission, and there are some big cards in this submission. You've probably seen them before if you've watched the channel for a bit. Those will be at the end, so if you'd like to look at cool big cards, please stick around to see how I did. This submission has 12 cards in it. 3 were reholders. 4, like I said, were cracks and resubs from other grading companies. Not all PSA. 3 from PSA, 1 from Beckett. And then the remaining cards, I guess the last 5 cards, were raw and previously not graded. It's almost all PC. Couple cards that I probably will not hang on to long term. So I'm really excited to show this to you. I'm going to go over to the table where I do the card reps usually, and show you guys those. Off the top though, I did want to talk again about the business side of things, about SGC continuing to kind of be in the news for a variety of different reasons. It's funny, I mentioned last time I did one of these grade reveals, and it was when there was all this discussion about the future of SGC and all that kind of stuff. I said off the top, I'm like, I don't love doing this. I don't love talking about the business. I just love talking about cards. And it turns out that video got more views than any video I've ever done in the 2+ years that this channel has existed. By the way, we just recently, on I believe June 25th was the second anniversary of the beginning of this channel, of when we first started posting content. So we've made it 2 years. So thank you to everybody that's watched our channel. Beyond my wildest dreams that we'd be over 1,000 subscribers in under 2 years, and having the success that we're having and reaching everybody. And it's just been, it's been the joy. It's been such a joy. It's been the joy of my creative collecting life, is getting to do this channel. So thank you on behalf of myself and Abby, my wife. I want to thank everybody for your support. But it's funny, like I said, that video got more views than any other video. So I want to give the people what they want. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the SGC stuff. And I come at it from the point of view of a collector who submits cards to SGC. This is the 10th time that I've submitted cards to SGC since the collector's acquisition, the beginning of 2024. And I want to just say, once again, my experience has not changed a lot other than the stated longer turnaround to get your cards back from grading. They went from 5 to 10 days to 15 to 20 days back in March. This time, I sent the cards in late May. From the time it was received to the time it was shipped, it took exactly 20 business days. It was 18 days for it to go until it went into post-grading, and then there was an additional day before it was shipped, which was a little annoying, but it was still in that 20 business day turnaround. As far as the grades for the submission go, this is not going to be a blind reveal. I have seen the grades. Everything was on the whole, on the average, it was what I expected. It's what I expected from SGC. You think about it, there were a few cards that were maybe got grades less than what I was hoping for, and a couple that I was pleasantly surprised at what they graded. And the rest was kind of right where it should have been. I wasn't shocked by anything. They were consistent. Again, that has continued to be my experience going with SGC. And I know that a lot of folks have said that it's taken longer, or that they're kind of stunned by how long the turnaround times are. But that is, again, that's somebody that submits cards just almost like basically monthly. That has just not been my experience. If you have had the experience, please let me know if you've had the experience of sending cards to SGC since March, since they announced the 20-day turnaround time. If you've had the experience that it has taken longer than 20 business days from the time that your cards went into received in the application in the back end of the system to when the cards were shipped. If it has taken longer than 20 days, 20 business days, mind you, don't count weekends and don't count holidays. Please let me know, because I would love to hear specific examples, because I hear anecdotally people talking about this, and that it's been 3 months or whatever, however long. I want to hear it. If you've had that experience, please say it in the comments, because I would love to hear that, because again, it's not been my experience. My experience has been the same. that they have stuck to the stated turnaround, as opposed to as opposed to them blowing way past it. And again, I'm continuing to have the good experience with the grading, where I feel like the grades are solid. Now, of course, since the last video I did on this topic, there's been some changes. There's been some bigger announcements, or some bigger, not necessarily announcements, but just news, including the sort of ending of the bulk submitter discounts that I know a lot of people relied on. I never used that. I never felt like I think the biggest submissions I've sent in were I've sent like a 30 card submission. I've sent a 24 card submission. Everything else I've ever sent has been under 20. So I never felt like there was enough of a benefit to doing that. But I know a lot of people really enjoyed that, and that goes away. I think that in terms of the bigger business for SGC on that one, I haven't heard a lot of people say this, but shout out to Mike, Junkwax Hero, who a couple weeks ago, when that news came out, mentioned in his Clearing the Bases episode, talking about that news, that he had an interview with Pete Steinberg a few years ago. And basically, Pete confirmed that the bulk submitter discounts and like the $9 top specials and that kind of stuff, they were not making money off that. So a new company comes in, they buy a company, they're going to look at ways that they can cut costs or turn a profit. So it makes sense to me that if they weren't, and if that was still the case, that they weren't making money off of it, that they would stop doing it. Man, it's just business, right? Like they're in it to make money. So I guess I didn't read a lot into that, other than the fact that they're trying to make money. But then I think the bigger issues and the bigger things that came up were Nat Turner going on Leighton Sheldon's channel for Leighton's 100th episode of Trading of Sports Card Therapy. Shout out to Leighton. He does a great job over there. And he said a lot of different things. Nat Turner said a lot of different things. Nat Turner, of course, being the CEO of Collectors. And he did say, we're not killing the SGC brand. He didn't say we're never going to kill the SGC brand. He didn't say SGC is never going away. He just said in the present tense, it's not changing, or it's not going away. That was an important distinction. Mike Baseball Collector pointed that out, and I think he was right to point that out. And also, the big news was that they are taking graders. PSA is taking graders from SGC, in Nat's words, to help lessen their backlog. And it is a fact that PSA grades like 10 times as many cards a month as SGC does. I have a hard time believing that taking a few graders, depending on how many graders they're taking, that's going to make this huge dent in their backlog, but that's what he said. And that is probably the one thing that's come along recently that does concern me a bit about the future of SGC, and the fact that, we're not going to see the effects of that until over time. Is the grading going to continue to be as consistent as it is? Are they going to continue to be able to produce and do what they do? If the sort of grading talent is going to be kind of siphoned off to PSA because Collectors has decided that that's where their bread and butter is, and they don't care as much about what happens with SGC. My hope is that that new graders will come in. I'm sure it's a high, probably is like a higher turnover business to begin with, because I know graders, from what I understand, they don't get paid a ton. So, it's a matter of how much Collectors in general and SGC in particular cares about continuing to train new graders, especially with how well and what their level of knowledge is about vintage stuff. So to me, that's the biggest thing that I've seen that has concerned me the most. And it's going to have to just remain to be seen what happens. I do think that it is just true that Collectors may not, it just all remains to be seen how much Collectors cares about and what they think about SGC long term and how they view it as part of their portfolio. And I didn't get, I didn't feel like super assured by what Nat Turner said in his sort of tech finance bro speak, which I'm extremely well versed in my business. It didn't come off as super genuine to me, about how much he loves SGC and that kind of thing. We're going to just have to see what happens. But in the present time, in the meantime, I'm happy with my experience with SGC, and gosh, I hope it continues. All I can do is just keep submitting cards to grade and hope for the best. I think hopefully the more business that they get, the more it hopefully proves to Collectors that it's an entity worth keeping intact what it is now. So anyway, I've talked for 10 minutes but without showing any cards. Let's go over to the table and I will show you folks this SGC grades reveal that, like I said, has some banger big cards in it. Let's head over and take a look. Okay, so I got through about half of the reveal, and I realized that there was just way too much glare coming off the card, so I had to shut the curtains in the room that I am in here, and I'm going to kind of start over, which is good because I felt a little disorganized at the beginning of this anyway. All the cards are out of the box, and I do know all the grades already. And let's get into it. I'm going to start with the 3 cards that were reholders, so you have seen these before, and there's no secret about the grades. The first is my Philadelphia Caramel Mordecai Brown in a SGC 1. I love the color on this. You can see it there. Let me try to get this to focus a bit. There we go. Just a great card. You can kind of see the back. Somebody was, I think, doing the checklist, but so happy to add this card to the PC. Amazing card, amazing color, and great to have it in that card from a tough set. So really excited about that one. Next is my Tharps Ice Cream Grover Cleveland Alexander from 1928 in an SGC 2. This was from David from Seattle in the trade that I made with him. And really, really happy with this. You can obviously see the ice cream stains on Old Pete, as he was known as. The back, there's even more. Oh man, I love this card so much. Great card. So really happy to add that one, to have that one back in. And then the last of the reholders was this oversized Bob Feller rookie. This is an 01, and I apologize again for just trying to get this to, there we go. It's a little bit hard to get the whole thing in the frame, but great, what a great looking piece this is from the Gaudy Wide Pen set, 1937. Of course, the picture there happening at Fenway Park. So really psyched about that one. Okay, so now let's go through the 5 cards that are that were raw that I submitted the grade for the first time here, and I got my trusty post-it note. First up is, again, staying with the oversized so that you'll see this. This is the Exhibit Ted Williams card that I bought from Paul Borges at the Shriners show. You see the crease on the right there and some of the writing and stuff on the back, and then you can really kind of see the crease on the front. You see on the left-hand side of the card there. I was expecting a 1 on this, and that is exactly what it got. So getting into the exhibits a little bit more, I guess, but this is a nice addition to the SPC, and this is, certainly was affordable. It was like under $50 I paid for this, so really happy with that one. All right, the rest of the cards are all the sort of normal size, standard size, or smaller, depending on the era, of course. And of the next 4 cards you're going to see here, they kind of span about 50 years. So the first is my 1949 Bowman Stan Musial. Of course, I just bought the Leaf, the 49 Leaf from Matt from Providence. And I bought this one from my friend Thomas on Facebook. And you saw this when it was raw. If you watched that particular video, you see the crease in the middle there. And then the crease kind of, it's a little bit more pronounced on the front. And there's like this mark up here too. I was definitely expecting a 1 on this. And I love this card no matter what. Like, you just see how brilliant the color is, and it's going to be nice when I eventually get this card, my other 49 Bowman here, when I get this one in an SGC slab at some point. It'll be nice to show these off next to each other. But I was expecting a 1 on this, and that is precisely what I got. So definitely a really nice card there, a really nice one. Really happy with this, and like I said, got the grade I was expecting. Okay, so I just repositioned the camera a little bit just to give a little bit of a better look for the smaller, non-oversized cards. The next is this 55 Bowman Roy Campanella, which I've had raw for a while. I decided to send it in. This is one that I will put in deals. I will sell it. I'm not going to really hang on to this one. I just added a 51 Bowman Roy Campanella to my PC, so it kind of made this one expendable, as it were. Good centering for a 55 Bowman. I thought really maybe this was going to get I thought at best a 4. I was thinking more like a 3.5. You can kind of see, like, the surface is pretty clean actually. So it was a nice card. I really kind of thought maybe a 3.5 or a 4. And this is the one that I was definitely pleasantly surprised on, that I got a 4.5. So nice card here. And again, this will be, an item that will probably not be sticking around in the PC, but cool card nonetheless. All right. Next is a card that I sent in with the hope that it was going to get a 10 or at worst a 9, and it is a pack-pulled 1987 Topps Barry Bonds rookie card. I pulled this out of a pack on the channel, And I guess what I should have realized is that like there's a kind of a print defect there. The back centering is like not great. I know that usually the grading companies don't necessarily care that much about the back centering, but I think this one I really probably should have realized that it was not gonna get the kind of grade I was hoping for, even though I thought like the centering was really good on the front. Like I said, this was probably not one I was going to stick in the PC. And again, hoping really for an outside shot, I was hoping at a 10, and maybe, and if not that, I definitely thought a 9. And it got an 8.5. So, you win some, you lose some, right? This one will probably be in like a future giveaway, or I'll throw it in a deal or something like that. Just not really what I was hoping for, but hey, that's how the cookie crumbles a bit. The last of the cards that was a raw submission was a card that this is PC, so I didn't necessarily care about the grade. This was my 1999 Pedro Martinez Topps Chrome all etch that I bought on eBay just because I wanted to have a cool Pedro refractor from the time I was a kid, and Pedro was like the best pitcher in the world, and especially this season, 1999. Because it's like this sort of older refractor with chipping and not necessarily in like the greatest condition, I wasn't necessarily expecting a huge grade, and it did just get a 7. I thought maybe an 8 or maybe 7.5, but 7's a little bit lower maybe than I was hoping, but that's all right. I can live with that. Great card nonetheless, and just staying in the PC. It was really just about having a cool Pedro refractor. That was really all I cared about. Okay, last 4 cards. They are cards that were in other slabs that I cracked out. I will tell you that it was something of a harrowing experience to do it with, especially 2 of these cards. The first is another card that I bought from Matt from Providence. It is this Honest Long Cut Tobacco Tris Speaker T205. And, it's got this upturned corner here and these issues down here. So I really didn't know what to expect in terms of the grade. But I was hoping it was in a PSA 1. I thought, hey, maybe there's a chance that this could get up to a 1.5. But because of the problems on the front and stuff like here, I really kind of just was girding for the fact that it was probably still just going to be a 1. And because this is PC, this is going to be the Tris speaker card in my PC, I didn't care that much if it didn't get the grade bump, and it did not get the grade bump, so it stayed at a 1. That is totally fine. I think this is an amazing card, and I'm really happy with it, and we'll look forward to keeping this one in the PC forever. And like I said, this one will stick around. Excited about that. Okay, next one is the Lloyd Wainer Diamond Stars card that I got in the last REA auction, and this was in a PSA 2, and you see there's some creasing right here. My intention is to get the Bill Terry and display it alongside this. Good centering, just overall a nice clean copy. Was really happy with what I paid for it, but I wanted it in the SGC slab. I kind of expected it was going to stay in the 2, but I thought maybe it'll get a little bit of a bump. And this was the one where, in fact, it did get the bump. So it got bumped up from a PSA 2 to a SGC 2.5. Quite pleased with that result there. Okay, the last 2 cards are 2 huge cards. And you have seen them before. They were in other slabs. They are 2 iconic 50s cards of 2 of the most iconic players in the history of the game. And the first is my 1950 Bowman Jackie Robinson. Now, this was in a BVG 1.5. I never intended to keep it in the BVG slab when I bought it. I felt like the price that I paid was so good that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to send it into SGC, crack it out and send it to SGC, even if it was probably most likely going to get a bump down in grade from the 1.5. And you can see right here that there is this paper loss here. And that is the sort of main culprit. And again, this card, I couldn't love it more. But I knew that I was running a risk of getting the grade bumped down to a 1 because of that paper loss in the back. But again, I would say that I paid about an SGC 1 price for this card anyway. So I didn't mind sending it in. And in fact, it did come back as the SGC 1. So I did lose the half a grade there, but I was fully expecting that. I was fully prepared for that. And I don't really care because this card is staying in my PC forever. I just want to point out, I don't know if anybody's ever cracked out Beckett slabs before, and I don't know if they're all like this, but the card in a Beckett slab is in the slab, and then the card itself is like in a baggie, not like the PSA baggies that just kind of like come out. Like it's enclosed within the baggie. So I had to very carefully cut the baggie to get the card out. I didn't know that was going to be the case. That was harrowing. It was harrowing in general to cut a card out of a slab like that to begin with, but it was especially harrowing when it's a Jackie that's worth quite a bit, and I was just like not really sure what was going to happen in terms of getting that card out of the slab. All right, the last one, another 50s legend and another amazing card, and this again was more about just getting it in the SGC slab as opposed to really looking for a grade bump. I thought there was at least a chance that this might get a grade bump. This is a card I've had for a few months. This is my 54 Red Heart Mickey Mantle that was in a PSA 1, and I thought there was a chance that it could get bumped up to a 1.5. The biggest flaw in the card is, well, I say it's a flaw. I know people like my friend and yours, Mookie Chilson, that would say that this pinhole is not a flaw. It is not a bug. It is a feature of the card, and some rough corners and things like that. But I thought, hey, maybe this would get a bump up to a 1.5. But I wasn't going to be heartbroken if it didn't, because again, this is staying in my PC forever, and I just want it to look like the rest of my great cards. And so this one did stay as a 1, but I can live with that. And again, shout out to Mookie. But there we go. So that's the SGC reveal. I was very happy with the grades overall. And so thanks very much for watching. Apologies for the camera glare right there on with Mickey. I'll maybe flip that a little bit. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you let me know what you thought of these grades. Let me know what you think of these cards. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on the whole SGC stuff. Would be happy to hear it. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Check out or to follow us on all social media channels. Check out our ComC store, and check out our list of favorite nonprofits and charities. We really appreciate it if you would support one of them. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.